The Los Angeles Lakers will be targeting more shooters in free agency after we saw a preview of Rob Pelinka's plan this offseason, and there's some great underrated options this year. I thought it would be fun to go over some high value shooters they should go after, so let's go over 5 shooters they should sign this offseason, and at the end, I'll briefly touch upon some of the players I already talked about in previous videos as well. And very quickly before we get into it, if you want to see more interesting NBA content just like this, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, as I really appreciate all your guys' support. So first up on this list, I have Kyle Korver. I would love to see Korver reunite with LeBron on the Lakers next season. He's turning 40 years old next year, but he's still an amazing shooter who can help space the floor next to LeBron and AD. With the Bucks, he shot 41.8% from downtown, and he was great as a catch-and-shoot threat. With the Lakers, I see him more as a third stringer who plays minutes in certain situations and games, depending on the matchup, and he could be really useful when the team needs a quick burst of shooting. Also, if he's your third string shooting guard, that's a tremendous asset to have and shows just how stacked the team would be next year. So I think it's just very important to also keep in mind how Korver can also be used as a mentor for the Lakers' young guys as well. He helped Giannis improve his shot last season by helping him with his shooting mechanics a bit, and I'm sure he can do the same for Davis and other young guys like Kuzma and Talen Horton-Tucker. I think Korver would be a great addition for LA on a veteran's minimum contract, and he would play a role both on and off the court. Next up, I have Juancho Hernangomez. So he's one of the most underrated free agents this upcoming offseason if he doesn't accept his qualifying offer, as he showed that he can still be a big contributor on a team when afforded the opportunity. He saw inconsistent minutes when he was with the Nuggets last season, but he thrived after being traded to the Wolves. After he was traded to Minnesota, he averaged 12.9 points and 7.3 rebounds in 29.4 minutes per game, and not to mention he shot an impressive 42% from 3 on 4.9 attempts per game. He will be a floor spacing big man who will be a great fit next to Davis, and he will be great as a spot starter depending on the matchup or just coming off the bench. He's also only 25 years old, so he has a lot of more room to grow, and I think he will be a great fit with the Lakers specifically if they decide to trade Kuzma for someone like D Rose this offseason. In this case, Hernangomez would immediately fill in a need off the bench, and I think he could be had for something like a 2-year, $14 million deal with a team option in the second year to afford the Lakers some flexibility in the upcoming offseason. Now we'll move on to Justin Holiday, who is one of the most forgotten about free agents who is still a very good player, as he's a great 3-point shooter and a solid defender as well. He shot 40.5% from 3 with the Pacers this past season, and he's a 6'6" wing who can guard multiple positions. With the Lakers, he will be a great 3-and-D guy that will be a great fit as either a starter or coming off the bench, and I think he can be had for relatively cheap. If KCP leaves this offseason, Holiday will be a great replacement, and getting him for something like a 2-year, $12 million contract with a team option in the second year will be a fair deal for both sides. Now, we'll move on to Davis Bertans. He's probably going to be very expensive this offseason for many teams, but I think it's worth a shot to see if the Lakers can get him to take a discount to join a championship level team. Bertans has turned into one of the best shooters in the NBA, as he shot 42.4% from 3 last season with the Wizards. He can shoot from anywhere on the floor and from really deep, and the fit next to Davis will be perfect. He would give LeBron and AD a ton of space to work with, and teams cannot afford to leave him open, or he'll knock down his open threes even from near half court. He's honestly one of my favorite players to watch, and he can provide a need if Kuzma or Morris leaves this offseason, and trying to get him on something like a 2-year, $18 million contract with a team option in the second year would be awesome, but he's almost certainly going to get a bigger contract by another team, so this is more of a stretch. And now we'll move on to Alec Burks. He was great with the Warriors last season, as he was a big part in helping to keep their offense somewhat afloat when Curry went down with an injury. He's a good 3-point shooter who can get to the rim with ease, and he would be an awesome playmaker off the bench as well. While he did play some point with the Warriors, I see him more as a 2-guard who is an above average secondary playmaker, so I just wanted to throw that out there and keep that in mind. With the Sixers, he was still pretty good in fewer minutes and shot an impressive 41.6% from 3, but his defense was lacking and is something the Lakers would need to address if they do in fact go for him. But he will be a great piece to have off the bench if he can be brought on a somewhat reasonable deal, and he should be a cheaper option than someone like Clarkson, who is also another player the Lakers are rumored to be targeting. Also, I'll briefly touch upon some of the shooters I talked about in my other videos. So first up, I have Jaycee Crowder. I'd love to see him reunite with LeBron after they played together for a bit with the Cavs, as he was great in the playoffs for the Heat. He's a solid 3-point shooter who is pretty hot and cold, but he does play good defense and will be a wing who can play and guard multiple positions at either the 3 or the 4 or even the 2. If KCP does in fact leave, the Lakers should try to sign him for something like a 2-year, $60 million contract with a team option in the second year. But as I said before, it's definitely possible another team decides to give him a bigger deal, or he just stays with Miami where he was a great fit. Another player I talked about in one of my other videos was Wesley Matthews, as I think he's going to be most likely chasing a ring, and I think he will be an awesome fit in LA. He's a very good 3-point shooter. As for his career, he's shooting 38.4% from 3, and he would bring some much needed floor spacing for LA, who should thrive playing off of LeBron and AD. And as I said before, while he's not the same perimeter defender that he once was with the Blazers, he's still solid and can definitely hold his own against most guys and perimeter players. If the Lakers can get him for something like a veteran's minimum contract, that'll be a huge steal and get, and he'd be a very cheap replacement, as I said before, for someone like KCP if KCP does in fact leave. I also wanted to briefly touch upon again Langston Galloway, as I think he'll be a very realistic option for the Lakers, and Galloway will be a great fit with the Lakers as a shooter off the bench. Last season, he shot 39.9% from 3 with the Pistons, and that's with playing with a lot of scrubs after Griffin and Drummond went down with injury and was traded respectively. Galloway playing against LeBron and AD will be great, as I can see him easily shooting over 40% from 3 in this case, and he'll be amazing spreading the floor and giving the team a consistent shooter. However, like I said with Burks, he isn't a great defender, so the Lakers will have to find a way to hide him a bit here, but I think he would overall be a solid bench piece for the Lakers if they can get him for cheap. You know, one of the best comparisons for him is something like a bigger Troy Daniels, and we all know how good of a shooter Daniels is, but his lack of size made him hard to play at many times this season, and that's what eventually got him waived. So if the Lakers can get Galloway to something like a 2-year, $8 to $10 million contract with a team option in the second year, that'd be a great deal in my opinion, and I think, as I said before with the last contract for Crowder, it will leave some flexibility for next offseason as well with the team options in the second year. So that's a wrap. Thank you guys all for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video and want to see more daily NBA content just like this, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and also be sure to turn on post notifications so you can stay updated on when my newest video will be coming out. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram and hit me up if you want to talk about basketball or business. Just drop a comment down below on my photo or DM me, and I'll definitely try to get back to most of you guys there. Drop a comment down below on which shooter you want to see the Lakers sign. It could be someone from this list or my previous videos, or someone that you have in mind that I never talked about. I'm definitely all ears and want to hear what you guys have to say about this topic as well. So with all that being said, once again, thank you guys all for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Peace.